Okay guys, so today we're going to be talking science. Apparently, there's a new study out on the efficacy of e-collars. And surprise, surprise, it's out of the United Kingdom, and they found out that e-collars are actually not as effective as positive reinforcement. Surprise, surprise. So I'll explain to you why they found that out in a second. But first, I want you guys to know that we are going to replicate that experiment here with dogs that have been trained with an e-collar for years. Okay, dogs that have even had bad experiences on the e-collar. Dogs that have had very high-level corrections on the e-collar, not just tickled on the e-collar. Dogs that have really been through a lot of e-collar training. You're going to see the same study replicated right here, and we can judge for ourselves because, you know, we don't need scientists to tell us what's an observable fact. So, anyways, I'll just quickly go over the study, and then we'll actually get into our study here at Shield Canine. Efficacy of training with and without remote electronic collars versus a focus on positive reinforcement. It says Lucy China, Daniel S. Mills, and Jonathan J. Cooper. Those are the Animal Behavior and Cognition and Welfare Research Group. There you go. So that tells you a little bit about their bias already, okay? You have to understand, especially in the UK, there's this huge push, okay, by the animal rights activists, backed by millions and millions of dollars that they receive every year in charitable donations, to completely ban any kind of training that involves the application of compulsion. And e-collars are just simply the bridgehead for them because it's it's low-hanging fruit. Oh my God, it's a collar and it shocks the dog. It's terrible, right? Now, there are some very good trainers in the UK that have fought this tooth and nail. I'm not sure if it's been passed or not into law, but you have to understand that that's the reason this study was done. So this study was done by people that, let's say, have a vested interest in proving something. And those are the studies you always have to be worried about. As with all the studies, well, not all the studies, there's been some good studies on e-collars, but this isn't one of them. We assess the efficacy of dog training with and without remote electric collars compared to training with positive reinforcement. A total of 63 dogs with known off-lead behavior problems, such as a poor recall, were allocated to one of three training groups. Each group had 21 dogs receiving up to 150 minutes of training over 5 days to improve recall and general obedience. The three groups were e-collar manufacturer-nominated trainers who used electric stimuli as part of their training program, the same trainers following practices they could apply when not using the electric stimuli, and independent professional trainers who focused primarily on positive reinforcement for their training. They focused on the dog's response to two commands: come, recall to the trainer; sit, which means put your butt on the ground. These were the two most common commands used during the training with improving recall. Now, this is where it gets important. Here they say control 2, the independent, positive-only trainers achieved, or I should say positive-focused trainers, achieved significantly better responses to both sit and come commands after a single instruction in the allocated time. These dogs also had shorter response latencies, meant they were faster than the e-collar group. So basically they're saying that they were faster, they disobeyed less, okay, and it was more effective. But basically what it amounts to was they received less than 2 hours of training time. I don't know anyone that e-collar trains a dog in 2 hours. Now, the positive-only crowd might be like, aha, we're faster than you. Look how fast we are. I say, okay, no problem. Let's prove it. Not in an, I guarantee you they did this either in like an empty building or they did this in an empty field like this one, okay? Now, you don't use an e-collar to train behaviors in sterile environments that are free of competing motivators. What you do is you use the e-collar because it creates reliability, but you also, if you know really what you're doing with it, create speed with the e-collar. Now they say manufacturer-approved trainers. In the UK, I don't really know any manufacturers. I'm sure there might be one or two kind of low-quality brands. So that would be one of them. I guarantee you none of the trainers I would consider to be good were used in the study. I guarantee you Ivan Balabanov and Bart Bellon were not called for the study because they don't want any of that smoke. All right? So anyways, this study has made a lot of assertions. No problem. I'm going to duplicate the same thing here with dogs that have received years of e-collar training. And, as I mentioned earlier, heavy e-collar training. Let's find out the truth. Surely, if this study is true, these dogs are going to be basket cases. I think that they also said that the e-collar trained group also displayed more stress in the training. So I'm not sure how they assessed the stress, whether it was measuring the actual cortisol levels of the dog or looking at the dog's body language. But listen, Anybody with a little bit of common sense can look at a dog and say, yeah, that dog's really stressed out, or that dog isn't, right? That's it at the end of the day. Now, if they were really interested in effective science, so to speak, what they would have done is they would have taken the dog to a place where there's a lot of competing motivators. Like, for instance, they should have released like 10 bunnies in the room, okay? Or taken them to a place like a busy park setting where there's everybody around. Just release the dogs, let them go free, and then call the dogs and see which ones did better. That would be a more realistic training evaluation, because now you're adding real world. Most people don't live in a place like this. Most people actually have a lot of things going on around, and that's where the dogs fail in their behavior. So regardless, we are gonna replicate the study here, because here at Shield Canine, we love science. You're gonna see me duplicate this study with 3 dogs that have gone through a lot of e-collar training. Now, if the study's true, they're not going to be very responsive, they're not going to be very fast, and they're going to be really stressed out. So let's find out. Let's find out if those things are true. Now, also, before we continue, I just want to say one thing. I don't, under any circumstances, assert that stress is not part of any training system in which you're using an e-collar, a prong collar, any kind of device where you're applying negative reinforcement. Stress can be present without those things, as any good trainer well knows, okay? There's good stress and there's bad stress. There's stress that improves learning and enhances learning, and there's stress that is just non-productive and falls into the category of abuse, okay? So I want you to remember when you were learning how to drive a car. Were you a little bit stressed? Of course you were, because you had mental things and physical things to worry about. You had to physically operate the vehicle, and you had to mentally think about all the rules of the road, and you were stressed because the possibility that you get into a car accident, there was a possibility that you would embarrass yourself, there was a possibility that you would fail and not get your license, and all your friends and family would laugh at you. There were multiple reasons why you were stressed and also trying to do all these things. What did that force you to do? What did that stress force you to do? It forced you and motivated you to concentrate. And it obligated you. I have to pay attention. I have to get this right because I want my license. Now, where was the positive reinforcement? Well, when you get your license, you get more freedom. You can drive everywhere. Your life becomes better. So it's needless to say, that's the light at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. And that was the motivation. But there was stress present. And if you think about almost any worthwhile learning process, anything from martial arts to learning to drive a car to learning calculus, stress is present and stress is productive. Okay? So the idea that you are going to train completely without stress and it's going to lend itself to real, reliable learning that's functional in the real world, especially if you have a dog who's very excited by things on the periphery, like bunnies and other dogs and whatever else, and you think that your dog's always going to pick the ball or the liver treat, it's stupid nonsense. But regardless, let's replicate some science. On with the show. Okay, guys, so first off, we have Victor. 6 months of e-collar training, some pretty heavy corrections, okay? So you guys are gonna see us do some work with Victor, and by the way, I'll correct him if he makes a mistake, so you can even see that in real time. And we'll see if he falls apart, and we'll see if he's slow. Poos. Good boy. So, heel him down to the end of the field, and then when we get to the end of the field, break. Look how slow he is. What? Very slow, very slow. The positive trainers can do better, that's for sure. So I'm gonna go and I'll call him. Let's see if he's slow here. Victor, Foos. Okay, break, sit. Good, break. Okay, was that slow? Now, he's done well, and I'm a realistic trainer, so guess what I'm gonna do? I'm going to reward him with his ball, because that's real life. We don't just correct the dogs and don't reward them, especially if the dog has desire, if the dog has drive. Why the heck wouldn't we? The reality is we need gas and we need brakes, especially when you're dealing with strong and driven dogs like Victor. So there he goes and he gets his ball. Victor! Butts! Out! Chip! Out! Good. Beat that. Chip. Come on. Good boy. Oh, wow. Right? Plots. Now you could say I'm cheating because I'm rewarding my dog, but again, that's real e-collar training. It's not just one, right? This is the brakes And that is the gas, and sometimes this is also the gas if you really know what you're doing, but they didn't really deal with anyone that knew what they were doing, nor were they interested in dealing with anyone that knew what they were doing. This dog, does it look like he has a problem with me? I mean, I've really corrected him. I'm not talking like little tickles. I have really hammered him for stuff, right? He wants to work. That's what he wants to do. Come on. He wants to engage with me. He gets upset if I don't engage with him, right? That's where the stress is. It's not because we've corrected him. But anyways, out. Good. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break the dog, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to let you watch him for a minute, and we'll see if he collapses and falls apart. Hey guys, before we go any further, I always forget my call to action, so I'm not going to forget today. If you like the content that we provide here for free on our YouTube channel, feel free to sign up from anywhere in the world for any of our online courses. We have courses on how to train adult dogs, how to train puppies, how to train sport dogs. If you have a problem with a reactive dog, we can help you with that as well. I'd also like to take a chance to thank one of our sponsors, Eric Outdoor USA, for the fantastic durable training pants. These are not clean pants right now, but that's because we use them every single day, and they handle the weather, they handle the dogs, and you know, they're fantastic training pants. Use code SHIELD, SHIELD 15 on your next Eric Outdoor USA order. I'm gonna leave the dog here. You guys watch the dog and tell me what you think. He's really falling apart. Nope. Stay out. What do you look like, Dan?
Took a pee.
Yeah. Well, let's look at him, guys. I mean, listen, hey, I'm not a scientist, and neither is probably anybody watching this. You tell me if this is a problem. You tell me if you're not happy, right? This is an e-collar trained dog. And again, I didn't tickle him. Big e-collar training with this dog. Is it the only thing I did? Absolutely not. Real life. Putts! Break. All right, guys, next dog. All right, guys, so Vasco's a dog that we've used a lot of e-collar on, a lot of heavy e-collar on. If we're gonna go by the studies on e-collars, he should look really stressed right now. So as you can see, he's wearing his e-collar. He's also wearing a pinch collar too, okay? So, you know, we're doubling it up. We're using a lot of stress, right? There's a lot of stress on the dog. So we should see a lot of real bad stress behavior, so we should also see obedience that's not really good. So in the study, they did a recall and they did a sit, and they judged everything off of that. Now Vasco, this is the problem with the study. I think they only trained with the e-collar for like 5 days. It makes no sense. I mean, you can't really do anything with an e-collar in 5 days that's all that productive. But no problem. This dog's been on the e-collar for years, and before we got him, we know for a fact he had some really bad experiences on the e-collar from some really harsh training, okay? So we're doubling it up here. We have a dog here that actually has a past. We're gonna recreate the study. Carson, you're holding your e-collar? Feel free to stim him if he makes a mistake in the obedience. What Carson's gonna do is he's gonna heel the dog out to the end of the field, okay? He's gonna come over here. He's gonna call the dog for a front, and then he's going to tell the dog to sit and step away from the dog. Actually, no, call the dog to a front, break the dog, and then have him sit. That way we're separating the commands. All right, so no one can say we did it wrong. And now Foos out to the end of the field. Foos! Crazy. Good ball. Good. All right, walk a little faster, Carson. Good.
Let's. Good boy.
Come over here now. And now you're going to call. Try not to move too much there, Dad. Now you're going to call. Here. Good job. Break him. And now have him sit. Good. Break. Break. And reward him with the ball.
Oh.
Good. Okay, guys, so this is a dog trained with an e-collar. He's wearing the e-collar. We actually used the e-collar on him earlier today when we were doing some protection work. I don't know anybody in their right mind who would be upset with what the dog just did. Okay, the healing was excellent. You know, if you've got an eagle eye, you can see on the left about turn, the dog anticipates a correction because he's been a little bit slow there, and still he's able to perform. He doesn't fall apart. He's not a stress case. The reason, again, why we use the e-collar, it's not so that the dog can perform in an empty field here. That's not why you use an e-collar. It's not to teach the dog. It's a learning aid, and it's a reliability aid, especially with a dog like Vasco, who's extremely dangerous. He's bitten a number of people, okay? This is not the dog you play around with. You need to have good control on a dog like this. And again, the argument that it's only for dogs like this, that's nonsense. I don't know one person that doesn't need this level of control. That's so that this dog, when he goes and he does a BH at a trial, or he's walking in public, he's completely under control. That's the difference, right? In an empty field, we can still outperform the positive only crowd, right? And also, more importantly, under really strong competing motivators, we can also outperform them. And that's the reason why we use the e-collar. And people just get it so twisted, you know? It's like they think like somehow that the dog can't perform. Carson, take the e-collar off the dog. Take him off. Have him just sit and take the e-collar. Yeah, good. Now, I know some of you might say, oh, you cheated, you used the ball. Well, this is real life. There's no training that's all one way. Why the heck wouldn't you use a ball if the dog likes a ball, or food if the dog doesn't like food, right? The dog doesn't work exclusively for positive reinforcement. There's an element of have to. So now let's go. Let's, Carson, just take the pinch collar off too, so no one can say anything about the dog. He wants to, you know, he has no choice. Okay, Carson, just out him there.
Out.
Okay, go to the, out.
Out.
Good. Collect the ball.
Out.
Good. Good. And now go to the end of the field and let's do a recall.
Let's.
All right. Good. So no e-collar, guys. There's no e-collar on the dog. Surely, at this point, he's not going to listen. He's not going to show the same level of reliability. Carl, call him. Here. Look how slow and stressed out he is. Good. Break. And have him sit. Good. Break. Good. And give him his ball.
What a ball.
Okay. You know, he's just a happy, normal dog. And that's really the important thing to understand when we're doing e-collar training. It's not because we lack the ability to train in other ways. It's because there are certain things that you can only accomplish if you're applying a certain level of negative reinforcement and even punishment at times to the dog as part of a complete training system. So the study said mostly positive reinforcement. Okay, I don't know, I mean, what that means. Were they doing some other things? If I know there are some people that only use the e-collar by itself for training. Again, that's not my style. I don't know a lot of people that only train with an e-collar and absolutely nothing else. Does it work? Sure. Does it work better if you apply positive reinforcement? Obviously it does. Does positive reinforcement all by itself work? Hell's to the no, which is why we don't do it. Believe me, I would love to, but it just doesn't. And that's why we don't do it. But that's the difference between, you know, real life versus academia. Okay, guys, so this is Gage. This is my personal dog. A lot of e-collar training. We got over a year of e-collar training on this dog. Heavy stuff, light stuff. You know, it's all over my channel if you don't believe me. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the study, and then at the end I'm going to do some training with him, and I'm actually going to stim him on the e-collar, and you guys can see if he falls apart. Break. Flats. Good. So we're going to leave him here. Gage, come. Wow. Sit. Good. Break. Down. All right, guys. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure the positive only trainers are better at this than I am, but I don't think he could have physically come any faster. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to train with him a little bit on the e-collar. And this is an example. Again, if the scientists were really interested, they would ask themselves, why are all the world champions using this? in any kind of sport where there's variable levels of competing motivators, I'm talking the sports like IGP, ring sport, PSA, they would ask themselves that question, but they don't really want to know the answer because, like I said, millions and millions of dollars. So I'll train them a little bit, and then I'm going to leave them alone. And again, I love science, so here we go, right? So, Boots. Good boy. Maybe I'll correct him if he makes a mistake. Good job. Good. You see the lip licking? That's concentration. Remember what I was talking about? When dogs concentrate, they get stiff. They get stiff. They get really laser focused. And sometimes they lip their licks. Ever watch Border Collie herding sheep? That's what it looks like. Good boy. Yeah. Just a few little healings. Yeah. Good boy. Good. Good. Good boy. Good. Wow. Butts. Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah. Good. Puss. Good. Yeah, bye-bye. Whoa. 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 Good. Gage. I don't know why he comes back to me. I mean, I used an e-collar in the training, so he should really hate me and be very stressed out, but he doesn't seem to know that I should probably read him the study. Maybe if I read him the study, he might not be as into it. He'd be like, oh God, I didn't know I was going against the science. But, right? Those studies will never use a trainer like me. They'll never use like the world level trainers, like, you know, Bart Balabanov and Balabanov, the guys that won the WSV, right? They'll never use those guys because they don't want the truth, okay? The field of competition is the ultimate form of science. If positive only training worked on the field of competition, and I'm not talking about agility, that's not real, right? I'm talking about something where there's a lot of competing motivation, right? So in bite work, these dogs are highly driven dogs. They want to bite the decoy, and yet we have control over them so that they don't. I know people will be like, well, we have trained positive only IGP and ring sport and all this stuff. No, you haven't. You haven't won. You've competed on the lower levels, and you never progress past the lower levels, and you never beat the top dogs because those guys know, especially when you're using dogs that are highly driven like this, you need positive, negative, and that balance of the two, and that's what creates the best picture. That's what creates the ideal training. So I don't know why it seems like science these days in many ways is trying to like deny reality. When science denies an observable fact, okay? Obviously, all e-collar trained dogs, I showed you fantastic obedience on all of them, fast, happy, normal dogs. Something is wrong with the science. Use your brain. I'll give you one more example before I sign off on this one. I'm not even going to bother to leave the dog alone because obviously you can see the dog. He's not going to have a problem. Okay? One more thing on this one, guys. If you were to ask me, describe where you are, Havs, and I said, okay, there's power lines close to me. There's some power lines right there. Okay? You'd be like, okay, give me more. Well, there's a red roof. Okay, give me more. Well, there's trees. These are all data points. They can help you, but they're not giving you all the information, right? And that's what's important to understand. Now, actually, one more thing. In the UK, it's funny that this study happened in the UK. In the UK, recently, a group of balanced trainers that use the e-collar in their training, very good trainers, that train very serious cases, right? They said, here's 50,000 pounds. That's about 70,000 US dollars. 50,000 pounds to any positive only trainer that can take a dog that has stock chasing issues. These are dogs that, they have a lot of sheep and stuff in the US, right? Or the UK. So they have dogs there that they'll chase sheep and kill the sheep and stuff like this. It's a big problem over there, okay? They said, we will take, if you can take a dog that has stock chasing issues and break the stock chasing issues using only positive reinforcement, we will give you 50,000 pounds. They collected the money. It was in escrow. They had it. They put it out there. No one took them up on it. Surely somebody who competed in this study, who was part of the study, would have happily said 50,000 pounds? Listen, I'm here. If I was a positive only trainer and I knew what I did worked, I would have gone over there and taken that $50,000, right? Or 50,000 pounds, even better than dollars. They didn't. It was crickets. It was silence. It doesn't work. Again, When professional trainers like me and people that are even much more successful than me, use a device, there's a reason. It's not because we don't know what we're doing.